guys, welcome back to my show. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how to create cool character names. We'll be doing an author talk on Kamilla Benko, and we'll be talking about the books, the Unicorn Quest series. We'll be talking about, that's a book. So, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so when creating a cool character character name, so I'm going to be giving you 13 tips on like how to create cool character names, and I'll give you my input on it, whether you should do it or no. First I'll be telling you the tip, and then along with the tip I'll be telling you whether you should do it or no. Okay, so my first tip would be to pick a one-word name. Pick a name maybe which is, now my tip according to this is, don't just pick any random one-word name. Pick a unique yet understandable name. Like maybe you could take Harry or Peter or something like that. Do not take any name which is hard to pronounce for the reader, because that would just make it harder for your reader and for yourself. For the reader it would be hard because they won't be able to pronounce it, and for you as a writer you won't get people reading your work because of the name. Because like your character name plays a big role in the part where you have to give your book to people to read. If your character name is not strong, people will read it, but maybe not as much as someone else's book. But before I talk to you about that, remember, when I'm talking about other books, that does not mean that your book is not good. Okay, so just remember, do not compare your book, especially if you're a new author. Do not compare your work with other authors, because that will just end you up in writer's block. So in order to avoid writer's block, you can maybe see one of my episodes on my show. You can browse through the episodes and see which one you like. You can listen to a few episodes, they're really good. Okay, so anyways, let's move on. Okay, so I was talking about the pick a one word name, and I told you about all of that. Now my second tip would be, you can use it's not good to like go and keep a simple plain name. You have to go wild with puns, humor and craziness, right? So keep a funny name. Like maybe you could keep, let's say you have a clown in your book, you could keep the name as maybe Mocherry, Todd Posseltewe, or Hal Incanenza, or something like that. Or you could make a combination of a normal first name with a second imaginative one, or something like that, like P.G. Woodhouse or Gussie Finknottle or something like that. So it's up to you to go wild, how wild you want to go with puns, humor and craziness in your character name. My tip number 3 would be, make the name represent the character's true nature. Now what do I mean by true nature? Well, true nature is like the personality your character has. So like, let me give an example of J.K. Rowling, since many of us know her. Maybe not personally, but by her Harry Potter series books. And yeah, so let me just tell you about her. You may have heard Draco Malfoy, Luna Lovegood and Voldemort. These 3 characters are the ones I'm going to be talking to you about in terms of their character true nature, their true nature plus like how their name relates to their true nature. First one, Draco Malfoy. He has a nefarious, evil sounding name. He has like an evil sounding name. He is an evil person in terms of like, he's kind of like a bully to Harry and Ron and Hermione. So I'm not going to tell you more about it because that would just spoil the book for you if you've not started reading yet. But either ways, come on. So Draco is like the Latin word for dragon, and mal means bad or maleficence. So you can see how his personality matches with his name. So just remember, when you're doing this, keep like a name which is actually related to the character's personality. You do not want to give a jolly name to someone who's really having a low scale personality. Someone who's really sad. You do not want to give someone who's really sad a very happy name, and you don't want to give a very sad name to a happy person, right? So that's what it is. Luna Lovegood. Now she is sweetheart. She has like this alliterative like segment in her name, Luna Lovegood, like LL, and but Luna means lunar or moon. So which lets you know she's a little wacky too. So basically, again, her true nature plays a role in her name. Even if I don't tell you her personality, you will get to know it by yourselves, just by knowing the name. Voldemort. Okay, Voldemort is like the big villain of like the whole thing. Okay, so pretty much he is the main source of evil in the book. Mort means death and Vold sounding like mold. So again, in this one too, you can see the true nature of Voldemort as a character, and you can see and understand that he is an evil person. Now my number 4 step would be reverse the relationship between the first and last name. Now what do I mean by that is, it's a kind of logic which no name generator can come up with. And speaking of name generators, I'll be putting the link to a really cool and fun fantasy name generator. You can feel free to use that. It's really fun. I personally use it. It's great. So anyways, that name generator, again, that will only be good if you are looking for a specific region type of name or something. You can just look through it and travel through and understand. But when you're doing the first name, last name, initial thing, that thing a name generator cannot come up with. The name generator will always give you the last name sound and last names, but to be unique, you have to use more of the name strategies to make sure you're creating cool character names. Now I'll give you an example of like a reverse between first and last name. So if a person's name is Henry Sonati, then you could say Sonati Harry. Now obviously that does not make any sense, but you could try creating a reverse relationship and make it make sense. Now there's a 5th tip, which is give your character a repetitive name. For example, and one of the best names of all time is Major in Joseph Heller's Catch-22. So it has 4 majors in a row. So it makes you laugh a little when you read it because of the repetition, but it's a good name. Now remember, when you're doing the repetition kind of name, be sure to make it seem good. And I think you should only use, personally I feel, is that use the repeat rule only if you're writing a children's book or middle grade book or something like that. I know this rule did not follow for Joseph Heller's book, but I think it would be right to use this kind of thing in children's book. My 6th tip would be give your character a name. And I mean, obviously you'd be wondering that obviously this is not even a tip. It's obvious because we're talking about characters here. No, you guys are wrong. So basically, not wrong, but yeah. So to talk about what I'm talking about is like the full name. You need to create a full name or just a middle name or a name with initials or something. It offers a lovely fictional 3D dimension. Now we'll be talking about 3-dimensional characters in the next episode, but let's just focus on this topic right now. Then my 7th tip would be create cool character names by using an anagram generator. An anagram would be like a name which means something else if you mix up the word. For example, listen is an anagram to silent. So you can try doing it with many names. I cannot give any examples of any characters whose name is anagrams. I know one really good one, but that would just spoil the book for some people. And if you're wondering and curious to know, I'm talking about there's an anagram for one of the characters in Harry Potter, but I'm not gonna tell who because that'll just spoil the book for you guys. So you guys can figure that out once you read. Anyways, my 8th tip is give your character prefix or suffix. Basically, give your for example, if your character is like a knight, you can give them the title of Sir and then their name plus their last name. Okay, then if they're a doctor, then you know Dr. dot and then you write the name. If they're a coach, then write coach and then their name. If they're an officer, then officer and then the name. Or you could do the opposite. You could choose a suffix instead. You could write name and then title. Name and then title. Name and then title. Now you must be wondering, why am I saying the same thing 3 times? Okay, let me give you an example. Name and then title, in the sense you could write maybe the king. So you could write, let me think of a name. Johnny Mantelestingos. Okay, that's a funny name. Okay, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. So Johnny Mantelingos Kingos Jr. If like they're like some kind of the king's son or something, queen's son or something, you could write Junior or something like that. My 9th tip would be to use alteration in the name. Now again, this rule would be good if you're writing a middle grade or a children's book, but nonetheless you could still use it if you're writing some other genre, like some other target audience. So now an example of alteration would be Bing's Balling or Meatball Mulligan or Bigfoot Johnson or something like that. So that's a repetitive B or B and M or a B and B. Like I said earlier, but for the Bing's Balling and Bigfoot Johnson, they are like linked. Now for the 10th one is try not to give your characters a wicked long name. Because giving your characters long names would just make it hard for your reader. And honestly, it would be hard for you too, because you would not be able to keep track of the whole name. Right? But if you are interested in creating a long name, just be warned, it's gonna be hard for you. So yeah, but if you want, I'm gonna be giving an example of a long name. So I'm gonna ask you one thing. Do you remember Dumbledore's full name? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it and I'll tell you the answer. Okay, so the full name of Dumbledore was Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. Now my 11th tip would be consider a hyphenated last name. A hyphenated last name tells you a lot about the character, whether they're French or they're a person who have changed their last name for some unknown reasons. Now you must be wondering, what do you mean by that? Okay, so when French people, their names have those accents on the top. So if you're writing on Google Docs right now, and then later going to be sending that manuscript to publishers and agents later on, and you don't know how to add those accents, you can search those up and add them, or you can just go to your file menu and change the language and start writing in French directly. That would be hard because personally I've never done it before, but I recently tried, not for the French language, but for the Hindi language, and it was hard because whatever I was typing was coming in the terms of English but written in Hindi, not the other way around, Hindi written English, which was actually what I wanted. So you have to figure that out, because I myself do not know much about how to write in French in Google Docs. Okay, my number 12 tip would be make the name fit your character's role. Now, what I mean by that is, personally, I don't think You should, keep a name which fits the character's role. But then, if your character's role is a leader, they're a leader. There's nothing known as a leaderly name, because there's no such thing as a leaderly name. Anyone can be a leader despite what the name is. So I don't believe in that tip rule. Actually, you would say. My tip would be, according to this one, would be, if you're making your name fit the character's role, that doesn't really mean that you have to make your if you like your character as a leader, make them have a leaderly name, because that does not exist. There is no such thing as a leaderly name. Give any name to your character, but just make them believe they're a leader. My last and final tip would be, don't give your character like a name like throughout the whole book you're like the kid, the judge, you're just describing him through that, or like the person with the flowy hair, because people lose track of who's who. So try and give them an actual name and not describe them by their characteristics. Okay, so that was the 13 tips I had for you regarding how to create cool character names. Now let's transit to our author talk on Kamilla Benko and her books. We'll be doing a book talk on all her books. So almost all her books actually. So let me just transition over to there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Kamilla Benko was born in California and was raised in Indiana. She was enrolled in St. Luke Catholic Elementary School and Bishop Chatard High School before attending Indiana University to study journalism and history. Kamilla has edited books for all of the big 5 publishing houses. Her first job was at HarperCollins, where she assisted on properties like Pinnaculus, Pete the Cat, Fancy Nancy, and I Can Read books. Following her time at HarperCollins, she went to Glasstown Entertainment, a literary packaging and film production company. There she developed several critically acclaimed novels and worked with so many best-selling authors, including Eleanor Herman, Sarah Holland, Zoraida Kurtova, and Tara Sim. Eventually, Kamilla became a senior editor and brand manager at Bloomsbury Publishing before turning to writing full-time. In 2015, inspired by the talented author she worked with, Kamilla began to write about a pair of sisters in a land of unicorns. 3 years later, Bloomsbury published Kamilla's debut novel, The Unicorn Quest, the first book in the middle grade fantasy series. The Unicorn Quest, Secrets the Stone, was published in 2019, and The Unicorn Quest Fire and the Star was published 2020, followed thereafter. In 2019, Kamilla collaborated with the directors and filmmakers of Disney's Frozen 2 to write Frozen 2 Forest of Shadows, an original mid-quel novel that reveals Anna and Elsa's adventures between the smash hit movies. Now we know about Kamilla Benko, but you must be wondering what each book contains, because I only gave you a brief, right? So we'll be only covering the Unicorn Quest series and not the Frozen one, because the Frozen one is mainly based around the Frozen 2 movie. So if you watch the Frozen 2 movie, you will be understanding the whole thing. So let's just talk about the Unicorn Quest series. Let me just talk to you about the first book, so that you will want to read the rest books and you'll automatically understand. So let me just tell you the brief summary on book 1. The Unicorn Quest, book 1. A missing sister, a secret fireplace, a dangerous world of magic and adventure. Claire Martinson still worries about her older sister Sophie, who battled a mysterious illness last year. But things are back to normal as they move into Windermere Manor, until the sisters climb a strange ladder in a fireplace and enter the magical land of Arden. There they find a world in turmoil. The 4 guilds of magic no longer trust each other. The beloved unicorns have disappeared and terrible wraiths roam freely. Scared, the girls return home. But when Sophie vanishes in the night, it'll take all of Claire's courage to climb back up the ladder, find her sister, and uncover the unicorn's greatest secret. Now to know what will happen next, or like what is in store for you in the book, you'll have to buy it. So I'll be sharing the link to the book. I'll just give you the link to the author's Goodreads page. From there, you can see the book she's written. You can buy it or read it online, whatever you want to do. She also has like the audible version, so you can listen to it too if you want to. So yeah, with that we have come to the end of the show. Just to give you a brief, we will be I'll be like posting the link to the fantasy name generator and the Goodreads profile of Kamilla Benko. And yeah, that's it. So I thank you all for staying tuned for this episode, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye guys.